Good morning and welcome to the Daily Connect. My name is Raymond and I'm so glad you could be a part of this time together. We're looking at God's Word. We're seeing where the Lord is leading us and who the Lord is calling us to be. Today is Friday, and that means it is time for what I call WOW, or Weekend of Worship. And it's an opportunity for us to really go into this weekend with worship upon our hearts, to really make it a point that everything that we do really centers around worship of the one true God. And I hope that this is going to be your weekend to really make that happen. Thank you to everyone who's joining me live and sharing in this time together. And as I argue, giving the Lord the very best part of your day. I really believe the Lord's going to bless you through this. All right, we are going through the book of Deuteronomy. I was going to say Numbers, but I think we've been going through Numbers for quite a while. But Deuteronomy is the fifth book of this collection called the Torah, or some would call it the Pentateuch, the first five books of the Bible. Deuteronomy takes place at the time when the people of Israel are about to enter into the Promised Land, and Moses makes a series of speeches, a series of sermons, if you will, to the people. And right now, he's addressing this, and I think it's important to note, he's addressing the second generation, or the next generation, just as they're going into getting ready to go into the Promised Land, but speaking and reflecting back on that first generation and how they have been disobedient to everything that the Lord has called them to do. In fact, it's more than just disobedience. They truly lack that trust, and I think it's as I say all the time, it's a great reminder for us. Do we have that trust, that full-on trust that God is has the best plan, is looking out for us and guiding us into the places where He wants us to be, not for us to jump ahead of Him. So here again, Moses is reflecting on what the previous generation had done, and we pick it up today in Deuteronomy chapter 2. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right into it. Good morning to each and every one of you. Rich, Jeanette, Joanna, Gabby, Michael, Sonia. Thank you so much for just waking up early and sharing this time together. So with that, let's go ahead and grab something warm to drink. Let's open up our Bibles or our Bible apps, pull up a comfortable chair, and let's take a look at what the Lord has to say. Again, we're going through the book of Deuteronomy, and I titled this Obedience with the Judgment. Obedience with the Judgment. Living in the will of the Lord. Deuteronomy chapter 2. We're going to look at the first little over a dozen verses here. Verses 1 through 15. Let's take a look. Starting from verse 1. And I'll share my notes along the way. Just some of the things that I'm seeing that are coming up as I'm studying these passages here. Verse 1. Then we turned and journeyed into the wilderness in the direction of the Red Sea, as the Lord told me. And for many days we traveled around Mount Seir. So, again, one of the last things that we saw in the previous chapter was that the people chose not to trust in the Lord. In fact, they actually turned around and said, God hated us. And in fact, they didn't outright say it in front of him, but they were murmuring in their tents and saying, the Lord is wanting to destroy us. He hates us and all this, clearly misrepresenting God. And God was not happy with that. And the fact that he even tried to help them to see that this land is exceedingly good, they still chose to give a bad report. The leaders did, and just creating this disruption. Then God basically said, "All right, you're not going to enter into the Promised Land. Go in the opposite direction." And here, what we're seeing is that even with God's judgment being pronounced, and again, they tried to go into the war. They're trying to be hypocrites of their own making, and yet God was not with them. Now they're being obedient to what the Lord is calling them to do, even after God has pronounced this judgment upon them. So this section that we're about to read contains what I would call the Edomite instructions. Not that it's instructions for the Edomites, but it is with regards to Edom and to this nation that they're coming upon. And at this point, about 38 years has elapsed. Some 38 years since Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 40. Let's continue. Verse 2 and 3. Then the Lord said to me, "You have been traveling around this mountain country long enough. Turn northward." So here the Lord has basically said, "Okay, enough is enough. Let's move on from here." And it's kind of interesting when you read Deuteronomy and you consider what the nation is going through and how the nation is being led. I mean, we know that the nation is being led by a pillar of fire and pillar of cloud, but yet here somehow Moses portrays the Lord as saying, "Okay, you've done enough wandering around this particular mountain, Mount Seir. Let's get to it." Right now, the objective that we're about to read here is to bypass Edom to the west, south, and east, so that they can get to their promised land. Again, 38 years or thereabouts has elapsed, and now they're getting ready to go into the promised land. And it's clear from Numbers chapter 21, verse 4, that they are to go around Edom. They're not to go through it. All right, let's continue. Verses 4 through 7. "And command the people, you are about to pass through the territory of your brothers, the people of Esau, who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. So be careful. So be very careful. Do not contend with them, for I will not give you any of their land. No, not so much as for the sole of the foot to tread on, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. You shall purchase food from them with money that you eat, and you shall buy water from them with money, and that you may drink. For the Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He knows you're going through this great wilderness. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you. You have lacked nothing." So a couple things that are being shared here. But first off, the people of Esau. If you're familiar with the Edomites, Esau is, Edom is a descendant of Esau, and Esau is the brother of Jacob. So there's familial connection here between these tribes that currently occupy the land of Edom. The big thing here is, okay, they're going to be afraid of you, but yet at the same time, I do not want you to provoke them. And at the same time, don't even think about possessing any of this land. This land is a possession to the descendants of Esau. And we see that going all the way back to the book of Genesis. How Esau, in a sense, God has been taking care of his people, even if they are not the chosen people. Here, the descendants of Jacob. And the instruction here is that any food that is consumed must be paid for a couple reasons. One, you don't really need to rely on the people for for sustenance, because the Lord has been providing for them anyways. But if you do consume any food, if you do drink any of their water, you're gonna make sure that you pay your fair share of it, because the Lord has been providing anything that they consume from these people. We're going to make sure that they're properly compensated for it. In this land, is again, Edom is a land that God has given over to the descendants of Esau as a possession. The people themselves have their own possession coming up, and so there's no need to start getting greedy in a sense, and thinking, okay, I need to possess this land and possess that land. No, God has specifically set aside their inheritance. Verse 8. So they went on away from our brothers, the people of Esau, who live in Seir, away from the Arabah road, and from Elath and Ezion Geber. And they turned and went in the direction of the wilderness of Moab. So in summary, they obeyed, and they bypassed the brother nation by this Arabah road, this passage. There's greater detail described in the book of Numbers, but here the big takeaway here, at least what I see Moses communicating to this next generation, of how they came to this place, and perhaps even as a reminder to the people, hey, we got to this place because we had to go around Edom, because we don't want to provoke them. We don't want to be distracted or even think about taking their land. This is the focus here as I see it. Verse 9. And the Lord said to me, do not harass Moab or contend with them in battle, for I will not give you any of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar to the people of Lot for a possession. So again, here are some Moabite instructions. You are, and not to say it's instructions for the Moabites, but instructions relating to Moab and how we're to handle ourselves upon this land that we are in. And the instruction here is much like that of Edom. They, in a sense, they are also a brother nation, descendants of Lot. And so again, if you're familiar with Genesis, familiar with Lot and how his wife was turned into a pillar of salt, and because she looked back, and how they ended up, how Lot ended up having descendants through his daughters, and Moab was one of them. And so this is a possession for the descendants of Lot through Moab. So again, this is a possession given to Moab, but not for them to take. All right, let's continue. Verses 10 through 12. Here we go. The Emim formerly lived there, a people great and many, and tall as the Anakim. Like Anakim, they are also counted as Rephaim, but the Moabites called them Emim. The Horites also lived in Seir formerly, but the people of Esau dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them and settled in their place, as Israel did in the land of their possession, which the Lord gave to them. So here, this is kind of like an aside, if you will. It's in parentheses, so it's a parenthetical passage supplying the details about the population, the people that were dispossessed from this land by the Moabites and by the Edomites, the descendants of Moab, or I should say the descendants of Lot and the descendants of Esau. How the indigenous people, they were like giants. They were like giants like Anakim. They were moved out as they took possession of these lands, and how they were moved to another location, or they ended up going in another location, and from there, long story short, it's probably how where these people probably ended up settling in what is the what would later be known as the Philistine area, and you have Goliath, people such as Goliath coming out, and these are descendants of giants, just like the Anakites that we talked about earlier. So these people have been driven out, and so yeah, all of this to say, I mean, this section kind of gives it the impression these people fought hard for these lands. This land has been given over to these people, so let's not bother them. Let's not disturb what they have. And what's also interesting, the latter part of verse 12 seems to indicate this is like an addition to the original writing. So this is more of some scholars, some people look upon this and say, well, this is indication. This parenthetical section is post-Mosaic in the final composition. This is like an editor's note, if you will. The way it's written, as the Israelites, or as Israel would take possession of their land, which the Lord gave to them. It's much in the same way. Well, wait a minute. They haven't taken over the land yet. From what we understand, the context of Deuteronomy is that Moses is still alive. Moses has these final sermons to share with them, and so they haven't taken possession of the land. But the latter half of 12 seems to be written as if they've already taken the land. There's a tense disagreement there, verb tense, I should say. But anyhow, let's continue. Verse 15. Now rise up and go over the brook Zered. So they went over the brook Zered. Okay, so here, this picks up from verse 8, going all the way back to these instructions that the Lord is giving to them. Don't disturb the Edomites. Let's go around them. Don't disturb the Moabites. We're not going to take their land. So this command picks up from verse 8. Numbers chapter 21 gives a few more specific details about this travel that would take place along the eastern border of Moab. And this mention of Zered, this brook Zered, or this valley, is between Edom to the south, which is to the south, and Moab, that is located to the north. So it's this valley that stretches in between these two lands. Verses 14 and 15. And the time from our leaving Kadesh Barnea until we crossed the brook Zered was 38 years, until the entire generation, that is, the men of war who perished from the camp, as the Lord had sworn to them. For indeed the hand of the Lord was against them, to destroy them from the camp until they had perished. So again, this is the fulfillment of what God had swore that he was going to do. These 38 years, it took 38 years for this rebellious generation of these fighting men to have finally, in a sense, died out. And also we read about Kadesh Barnea coming to Zered. They started off in Kadesh Barnea. Well, it's not explicitly said, but if we read this through from chapter 1, they're starting from Kadesh Barnea. They have wandered around Mount Seir. They have now landed at Zered. 38 years have elapsed, and all of that generation that had rebelled against God have finally died out. All the fighting men. Again, this doesn't speak anything about what happened to the women and the children that were under the age of 20. And also, this signals that the desert wandering has now finished. Okay, we have finally finished what God has set out to do. And I think it's important that there's a couple things that come out of this. So on the one hand, you have, yes, the end of the wandering, and then the second thing that I see here is that the fighting men of that previous generation have died. If you have any men that are now coming of age, they will now become the next group of fighting men. But more importantly, this is going to be the generation where all victories will be attributed to God alone, to the Lord alone. It's no longer going to be about what they can do, but this is a generation that has wandered the wilderness. They have seen God work powerfully. They have seen God lead them with a pillar of cloud and pillar of fire, and how God has been speaking clearly through Moses with all these instructions. Now they know, or at least the hope is, they would recognize that any and all victories that come from come out of all that is going to take place is going to be from the Lord. So what am I learning out of all this? I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways out of all this is the fact that these victories that they would experience, well, and it's all because of God. But it's also within the context. These 38 years was within the context of the fact that they were God's will was being pronounced upon them. God's will was being pronounced upon them, and that here you have the people still being obedient to them. The will of God said, at least to the Israelites, that rebellious generation has to die out. But yet, even within the context of God's will being done, the relationship with God never ended. The relationship with God continued forward out of obedience to say, "Yes, Lord, what you call us to do, we will still follow." A lot of times, I think we get to a point where the Lord's will is being done, so this chapter is done, this part is closed, and so we kind of shift gears. But what if the will of God spans 38 years? What if the will of God spans an unspecified period of time? Will we still remain obedient to what God is calling us to do? Hopefully it's not about emotions. Hopefully it's not about, I mean, you can well imagine all these people probably have different motivations, different reasons to still obey the Lord. But still, nonetheless, their relationship with God didn't end. Maybe they were obedient to God for the sake of the next generation. Maybe they were obedient to God because they wanted to be obedient to God. Whatever it may have been, the relationship with God never ended when, even up until the point where the will of God is fulfilled. I hope that makes sense. We don't want to do any stutter step when it comes to our relationship with the Lord. It is important that that dialogue, that relationship continues on, that we bear witness to the will of God being unfolded before us. Amen. All right. Once again, thank you everyone for sharing in this time together. For just joining me on this journey through the book of Deuteronomy. It's a really good read, and a lot of people may find it boring, but quite honestly, there's so much to learn from from even just this reflection of things that we already know. We get some maybe even a better insight into our own hearts and our own walk with the Lord. Thank you, Missy, Jean, and Esther, for popping in and sharing this time with everyone here. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Let's go into this weekend with worship upon our hearts. Again, share any prayer requests, any questions that you may have, and if you're praying for these events that are going to be coming up, and if I could go as far as saying, if you're committing to praying for all these the upcoming events that are coming up, I'm repeating myself. If you're committed to praying for these events that are coming up, I want you to just put in the live chat praying for the marriage seminar, praying for the retreat, praying for praise and prayer night, praying for all the different events that our church is going through. And then if you're a part of a different church, you're committing to praying for the events that are going to be taking place in your church. So if you're committed, I want you to just jump into the live chat and say praying, that you are counted as among those who are going to be praying. Thank you so much, Jeanette, Jean. You guys are awesome. All right, with that, thank you, Esther. Yes, we are going to be praying for all these different events that are coming up. You guys are awesome. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Let's rejoin tomorrow and tomorrow morning, and let's take a look at what Deuteronomy has to say, how the Lord is going to speak to us through His Word in tomorrow morning, same time. Look forward to sharing the time together with you again. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I love you guys, and look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care.